Welcome back to my channel. This is a follow-up video on the video that I did earlier this morning where I talked about the concept of cowardness, or rather made an argument that Twitter is a social network for cowards. I wanted to discuss in this video what is coward and what is its relationship to fear. Those two terms seem to be related. We're going to find out if they are or if they're not. And what is the difference? And maybe even get to the point where, maybe even get to the origins of it. So stay tuned. Let's jump in. So obviously, since I brought up the topic and the title of the video, the difference between the cowardness and fear, you can guess that yes, I'm making an argument that there is a difference. And let's work on that. So what is fear? One of the videos, one of the gurus on YouTube described that fear is something that you're afraid of unknown. The fear of unknown, it's quite fascinating. You're not afraid of a certain thing or certain circumstances, because once it happens, you'll figure it out. But you fear of unknown. And there are two types of fears. There is an internal fear and there is an external fear. To me, the internal fear is the fear of yourself. Perfect example would be fear of not being enough, fear of not doing good of a job. It is the self-judgment. It's the lack of self-love. None of the external factors matter in this case, because none of the facts matter, and nothing that those external factors convince you otherwise of will diminish that fear. You're stuck, you're inside. There's no external factors will be able to help. And then the second type of the fear, as you might guess, is the external fear. The fear of external. The fear of the boss who will be complaining that you're not doing a good enough job. The fear of breaking something because you might get in trouble. The fear of losing a job and not being able to pay the bills because, again, you will be punished by somebody. You are afraid of that external factors. And then comes the aspect of cowardness. Well, what is cowardness then? Isn't it cowardness is just acting out the fear? In my opinion, not quite. You see, acting the fear, well, there are three actions upon discovering a fear. It is fight or flight or play dead. It is very simple. Scientists say there's nothing more to it than the animal reflex. Well, in this case, one can say, isn't cowardness then just the fact when you're fearful and you run or play dead? And yeah, that might work, right? You see, not really. Because imagine if you are afraid, if you face something and out of fear you decided to fight. Let's say somebody jumps out at you in the dark alley with demands, give me your money. You analyze the situation. First of all, you startle, you are afraid because of an unknown, and then you act on this unknown. You either jump on and fight your attacker, or you run away from the attacker. That's the reaction to the fear of the unknown. Or you might play dead and In this case, the attacker will just take your money and walk away. But at least you are safe. But you see, the difference between that acting out in fear and the cowardness is quite different. Let me use this example to better illustrate it. Now imagine it's not a dark alley, it's the middle of a street. And imagine it's not you who's being demanded the money from, but if it's somebody else. It's somebody else who you are witnessing of being attacked and being demanded the money of. Now that is an opportunity for the cowardness to sneak out. How come? Well, first of all, you don't have a fear anymore. Well, not anymore. You don't have a fear. What are you afraid of? It's not none of your concerns. It has nothing to do with you, somebody else. You might decide that you should intervene. Okay. That's a common sense. And then you analyze the situation. You take a look at the perpetrator. The attacker, is he or she bigger? Or can I take them on? Am I strong enough? Am I brave enough to do something? Do I have the confidence to intervene in the situation or not? And that's where the opportunity for cowardness slips in. That's an exact moment where you make that decision. You can make a decision to jump in between, and that's the bravery. You can make a decision of attracting an attention by yelling. Still, it's an act of bravery. You might even whip out a phone and call 911. Still act of bravery. You've done something. But the act of cowardness is just walking away. Just passing by and not doing anything. Or maybe that's the easiest, and in my view, it's the least. It's the most innocent act of cowardness. You just walk away. Like, it's none of my concern. And in some cases, might prove that that's a right decision because you don't know the circumstances. If you haven't witnessed the entire picture, I'm not going to discuss that act. I'm going to discuss the act when you whip out a phone and you start filming it. That's the act of cowardness. You are afraid to do anything, but you're not afraid because you're doing something. But what you're doing is not helping the situation. What you're doing is agitating. What you're doing, you are provoking. And that's exactly what I talked in my morning video today about. And in a similar sense, that Twitter, as I made an argument of, is the perfect platform for those type of cowards. It is so easy to just throw a message out there. You're limited by the number of characters, and that's fantastic. That's the reason why Twitter became a platform of cowards. Because you cannot express your thoughts. Some people try it with the reply threads, but the majority, it's almost like you can compare it to a certain type of monkeys that in a fight throw their feces. In some sense, it's not really helping the situation. It's not going to deflect the attacker. It's not going to hurt the attacker. Right? It's provoking an attacker. If anything, imagine how would you feel if somebody threw a feces at you, threw shit at you. It's crazy. But that's what Twitter is. Now, I want to mention that I'm not. This is not a channel of, complaining about Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm acting exactly the same way. It's my observation and a fact. and by no means I'm trying to accuse Twitter of something or highwash Twitter. No, it's just an observation, just a philosophical thoughts about the aspect of cowardness. Twitter just became a perfect example, or not a perfect example, I guess. Twitter became an example to state it. Now, let's jump into where is the cowardness come from? We know where the fear is coming from, right? You are afraid. It's a self-preservation technique. It's the it's the survival technique. It's very old, to those who are into evolution. That is certain parts of our animal brain is responsible for it. But what about cowardness? Where's cowardness coming from? I mentioned monkeys throw feces, but it's an act of cowardness. It's not because the monkey is a coward. Monkey has no idea what they're doing. This is what they do. And you see, the cowardness, it's not a feeling; it's an act. And in some examples, it's an act of inaction, but it's an act. You have a feeling and you act it out. Same thing with the fighting, flighting, or play dead. It's an act of the feeling of fear. With cowardness, it doesn't come with fear. It's not born out of fear. So what is it born out of? If it's an action, what is the feeling? Because cowardness is not a feeling. Well, that feeling that gives birth to cowardness is guilt. It is the guilt that gives birth to cowardness. So the guilty person is the coward. Coward is a guilty person. And I would like you to comment on that thought. That the guilt gives birth to coward. That the coward is a guilty person. Let me know in your comments what do you think, because I would really love to read what your thoughts are. And in the future videos, I would love to discuss it. I would love to review the comments and have a live, maybe even live discussion. But that's pretty much it for today. I think we can pause there and pick it up next time.